Hi, all. This is Nate Matthews, your professor. I imagine that you're probably not going to watch this until after our first class session. But if you do, it's great to have you in my class. I'm just going to do a quick overview of what our syllabus schedule and kind of structure on D2L will look like for the semester. So the syllabus is posted up, and I'm going to go to our main content section here. If you click on content here on the top left, it'll bring you to the main page. I'm going to go into week 0, and that's where the syllabus and schedule will be posted. Week 1, you'll notice that it has a structure of 1.1 and 1.2. And the idea is anything in the 1.1 section would be things that you would do between class on Tuesday, before class on Thursday. And then 1.2 is going to be things where you do it before the next week. So after Thursday and then before class on the following Tuesday. So that's kind of your asynchronous content. We won't always use up the full 2.5-hour class. For anyone that doesn't know, a studio class is typically scheduled for 2.5 hours. The idea being that you have an hour and 15 minutes of normal class time of lecture, and then an hour and 15 minutes of studio work time and other related content. So I'm just going to kind of skim over the structure here. Now, these things that are listed here are not actually listed in the schedule. The schedule lists the major assignments, things that I'm assigning you, and their deadlines, and then the lectures that I'll be covering in class. And then the things that are posted up in here and D2L are actually not listed on the class, but they're usually things like lectures and readings that we might do in class, as well as watching some artist talks. So I'll just kind of skim through. This week is kind of heavy on the technical stuff. So there are a lot of lectures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it looks like. One of them is actually a TED Talk. But these are kind of the lectures that I would normally give you in person. I've pre-recorded them, so they're up here to watch. Not that I won't always, I will occasionally do some lectures live. We'll definitely be doing class conversations and critiques live, giving feedback live. But mainly lectures will be here, followed by 1 or 2 readings a week. Usually they're short, won't be that time consuming. And then after that are usually 1 or 2, maybe 3 sometimes artist talks. Depending on their length, I'll put in more if they're small in length, and usually less if they're a little bit longer. So this one here that I'm hovering over is actually done by the Museum of Contemporary Photography here in Chicago. And they do this great Photos at Zoom lecture series. It used to be Photos at Noon, where it would be in person, but they did these great recordings over the last few months about basic topics in photography that work really well for an introduction to photography class, which is essentially what we're in here. All right, and then here's one of the shorter artist talks, this one by Dawood Bey. And usually on Tuesdays, between Tuesdays and Thursdays in the 1.1 section, you will have a visual literacy exercise. And I will come back to that one in just a second, because I want to show you now the second half of the week. We don't have any lectures in here because they're all kind of front loaded. If you don't get to them all between Thursday, I understand it's only 48 hours, so just make sure you watch them in that week, but usually they're going to be related to the class that's going to come up next. So we've got a couple of readings, and then there's 2 shorter, well, this one's shorter thing to watch, and then this is actually probably a little bit longer artist talk, but another good one, also done by the MOCP. All right, let's go into this. The visual literacy exercise, this is going to be a weekly thing. The images might take a while to load the first time you do it. But basically, there's usually 4 to 6 images by one artist. I don't give you the artist name on purpose, because the idea of the exercise is for you to think about why the artist made the images, kind of defining that. There's a list of questions at the bottom that are pretty standard each week. What is the subject? So in other words, who or what is being photographed? what is the form of the images? So like what is significant about how they're photographed? Are they a good photograph? Are they, something that would be technically or aesthetically strong? And then finally, what is the content of the images? So what is being communicated in the photographs? Why do you think the artist made them, essentially? So you do a short paragraph explaining each of those. And then usually on Thursdays, what we'll do is we'll essentially use that as a starting point for our conversation, where as a class, we'll talk about these images and kind of dive deeper into them. Okay, scrolling back up. So that's week 1, and I hope that makes sense. Each week will be somewhat structured like that. And let me know if you have any questions.